Sheena with Strength Unleashed and Ryan with Next Level Nutrition. And together we are NutriChat.
Hey guys,
Today,
how we doing today?
today we are going to jump in on things we wish we had known when we first started out on our health and fitness journeys. I think in hindsight, we oftentimes can look back and be like, oh, I wish I had known this before I started, or you see the questions pop up all the time. What would I tell my, 18-year-old self or 20-year-old self or 30-year-old self, depending on how old you are? And so I think advice that you can give somebody when you're a little further along in the journey is always helpful, especially I mean, hindsight's 2020. You can look back, oh, I really wish I had known this. It would have saved me years or months or frustration or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ryan, like what is your top thing? What is your number one thing you wish you had known when you started out in your health and fitness journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think first when it comes to you and I mean, we've been through this a lot. We've been on our own journeys for a while. We've been coaching people who share a lot of the same struggles that everyone else shares. So hopefully this will provide some good insight and some good nuggets for whoever's listening. And a lot of this stuff that we wish we would have known is like stuff that everyone goes through, and you might not realize it, but it's things we all go through, and it's things we got to adapt to and overcome. So one of the biggest things that I wish I would have known personally, just because by nature I'm a super competitive person, and I like to do everything like the right way, perfectly, and be like the absolute best at it. With that being said, one thing I wish I would have known when I started is that it's okay to fail. Because with this journey, whatever you're looking to lose weight, go through a total body transformation, pack on muscle, it's not a linear path at all. And you're going to fail. You're going to have so many obstacles that if you don't fail, I'd be kind of worried because there's just so many like either trivial things or even serious things that are going to come up within your journey that's going to hinder your progress, whether you know it or not. And for someone like me who's like, shoot, this happened, or I didn't hit my goal weight, or this month I only lost a pound for the whole entire month, and I feel like a failure. That stuff's okay. It's gonna happen, and there's other things in the background you might not realize that could be going on to where that failure is actually a success. You just don't realize it, and you just kind of got to step back and kind of dissect a couple things. And with that being said, also, it is okay to fail because failures are learning experiences. And what you do with that failure can dictate a lot better things to you to come forward from it, going forward. So, for example, let's just use weight. I only lost, let's just go with the same example. I only lost a pound for the whole month. I can either sit there and count it as a failure and mope about it and do nothing about it and not learn from it, or I can take a step back and be like, okay, I lost a pound from this month, but what do my progress pictures show? Why did I only lose a pound?
I'm going to chime in on this.
Uh-huh.
One of the things that I like to do, because I feel in my mind, it feels like it should be similar in mass, but I'm like, go take a pound of butter, go pull out a pound of
Yes.
butter and look at what does that look like.
Mm-hmm.
If you lost that off your body, that's a great thing. Like,
Yeah, it's a
I
lot.
mean,
A pound is a lot. A pound of fat is absolutely a lot. And then we want to put in with, okay, you might have only lost a pound, but you also gained a half a pound of muscle. Like that's even bigger because that half a pound of muscle is going to look a lot better along with that 1 pound of fat loss. So you really got to dissect it a little bit and take a step back instead of moping about that failure. What really happened? What's the big picture here? And then learn from that failure. So say it was a total failure. Say I only lost a pound of weight, and my progress pictures don't show much. What happened? And I take a step back and I dissect. I'm like, all right, you know what? The weekend I drank a bunch of beer. I didn't really track my calories. I didn't have a really good game plan going into the next week. I skipped a couple workouts. All right, so I did all these things. What am I gonna what's my game plan going forward? All right, next weekend I should probably stay on track. I missed a couple workouts. I should probably figure out why I missed those, and let's not do it again. Let's turn those those negatives into positives and learn from it and do something about it. So again, those failures can have good outcomes.
So my youngest, I have 3 kids, and my youngest, we were talking about wrestling. My boys all wrestle, and I had a friend who's had a kid that was starting into wrestling, and I said, "Okay, give me your number one advice for a brand new wrestler." And my youngest, I love, love, love what he said. He said, "Sometimes you win,
Mhm.
and when you win, you know you did good, and sometimes you learn."
Yeah.
And he's like, when you lose, you know you have something to learn. And it was so deep for this little, I mean, he's 12. And I was like, man, that like, I need you to remember this when you lose in the season because it's great advice, but I need you to be able to listen to yourself say this back in the moment when you are feeling all of the feelings, because there are a lot of feelings that come along with what we might call a failure. um,
Mhm.
but if we can keep that mindset of I'm learning, I'm learning, instead of oh I failed.
Mhm.
Like fail sounds so, I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's gross. It's just
Ugh. Yeah.
very negative, and I don't like the word myself either. I just chalk it up as learning experiences.
Yeah.
So, but no, just like you were saying, with the sports, I mean, you can apply this to anywhere in your life for anybody, right? So, I mean,
Yes.
same with my daughter in volleyball. When she had her tournament last year, they did really good, but they didn't win, and she was, kind of bummed that they didn't win, and she, felt like a total failure because of it. And then I was like, well, what could you have done better? For next year, like what are some things you can work on to do better? So let's turn this failure into what can we do better to become better, so that way next time we're going to have a better outcome. And we talked about it, and she felt a lot better because she realized, what, I can learn from this and I can be better, so let's do that.
Well, and I love when you said, we needed to dissect it. And I think some key questions that I like to recognize in myself. Okay, what did I do that was good? Because
Mhm.
we need to recognize and we need to celebrate those wins. And I think as a competitive person, when it doesn't go how you want it to, it's really hard sometimes to be like, but I did do this good, and give yourself that credit and allow that to be a win even though you didn't get the outcome you wanted. And so for me, those questions, what did I do that went well? What's going good?
Mhm.
Where can I improve? What needs my focus right now so that I can get to that next level?
Mhm.
And um and then what help do I need to get there? Do I need more information? Do I need accountability? Do I need do I need to plan better? Do I need like what is it that I need that's going to help me get to that next goal? And I think those 3 questions are important questions to continue moving yourself forward.
Yeah, absolutely. You can absolutely learn a lot when you start dissecting things, when it comes to failure. And we could probably have a whole entire podcast on just talking about failure and things you can do to overcome. Because there's
Yes.
just so much to it. And when you stop focusing on the negativity behind failure and you have that positive spin to it, I mean, it can literally make all the difference in your journey. Just that one thing can make
Yes.
all the difference, because you hear people all the time, like, say for example they're following a fad diet or whatever, just anything in general, and they fail, and what happens, they fall off the wagon, they binge for another couple weeks or a month or however long, and then they start back up again, and then since they didn't learn from the failure, they're going to do the same thing over again, but maybe just a little bit different, but they're going to have the same result most of the time, because they didn't take a step back and learn and figure things out on what they can do better, and maybe educate themselves a little bit more, or take a different approach, or whatever it may be. So failure alone can teach you a lot, and it can take you very far in your journey depending on what you do with that failure.
One of the things that I really, really feel deeply about, that I wish I had known when I first started, was is as important, like, it's all important, right? But exercise for me, initially I was like, I want to change my body. I want to change my body. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to do all of these things. And exercise absolutely will change your body. I did not realize the huge mental benefit that I got from exercise until 2020. Like, and it's crazy that it took that long for me to recognize how critical that was in my mental health and my mental well-being. But that piece of that habit that I had built, that piece of my healthy lifestyle that I had built, was something that kept me solid through a crappy, crappy time. And the consistency that I already had in that allowed me to keep sound mentally and keep, like, I don't know, it helps me so much with anxiety and depression. And I'm going to preface this: if you are suffering from anxiety or depression, don't think that exercise is the only thing that's going to help you, but it can.
Mm-hmm.
And I read a study, and I can't cite it, so I apologize. I can find it if somebody really wants the information. But they did a study on several people that were suffering from depression. And one group, they just did drugs, like um, antidepressants. One group, they just did exercise. And one group, they did exercise and drugs. The group that did the very best was the exercise and drugs. And they had and then next was the exercise. So the group that did exercise and drugs had the least amount of relapse later on. And the group
Interesting.
that did and then exercise was next. The group that only did the drug had the most amount of relapse once they went off the drug,
Yeah.
which I mean, that's a whole nother topic as well. But recognizing how important that was for my mental health and well-being, I didn't recognize how important that was. And I think some of the struggles that I had had early on as a mom, I think if I had been more consistent with exercise, I maybe wouldn't have struggled in the same way. So that is one thing. And actually, I had put a poll out on my Instagram, and that was one thing that somebody also said back. And I'm like, oh, I love this answer so much, because me too. And she's like, oh, I think I actually read that on your page. That was where I saw that. I'm like, I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and you're so right. Something I wish I would have known too, because with me, someone that suffers from depression, anxiety, and things like that. It's carried me a long ways. And there's scientific backing with what exercise and proper nutrition can do with promoting positive benefits when it comes to anxiety and depression. So, with food alone, you can have serotonin, types of foods that can help boost your serotonin levels, make you feel better. And then with exercise, all the dopamine releases and things like that, all the chemical changes, hormonal changes and things that can promote, it can go a long ways when it comes to managing, depression and anxiety, or whatever mental disorders that you could be going through. Then you combine the two together, you got good nutrition, and you have a good exercise program. Like that's huge. That can do so much. Not saying it's going to cure everything, because like you said, sometimes depending on what level you're at, when it comes to your mental disorders, like you probably may need medication, and also talking with professionals. But the added benefits of exercise and nutrition alone will carry you a very, very, very long ways. I know it has for me personally, to where I don't even have to take medication anymore. um I just do everything through, through diet and exercise, and it works great for me. So,
Yeah.
and you can definitely tell, like, if you take a week off the gym or whatever, um, man, it's a tough week sometimes, mentally. So it has a lot of benefits, just like you said.
Well, and I think like this is actually something that came up recently on somebody's podcast about how walking isn't exercise, and um, it's definitely its own thing. It's not. I mean, you're not going to train for a marathon by going for a
Right.
leisurely stroll every day, and you're not also going to like train for a like Ironman competition or a bodybuilding. Like, I mean, everything has its specific training and specific purpose. But if it's somebody that's struggling to just get moving, start
Mhm.
with walking. Start with walking because A, for me, if I'm having a hard day, if I'm having some stress, if I just don't want to do the thing and I go out and I go for a walk, I'm like, okay, I can go do the workout. I can go do, the other things. But that walk is such a huge stepping point for me
Mhm.
to get the rest of the way there. So
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
I think all that is another thing I wish more people could recognize that it doesn't have to be an hour session in the gym that hits, back and bicep and chest and tricep and like, or it doesn't have to be a high intensity cardio session or sprint intervals, or like it doesn't have to be this very specific thing. You don't have to spend an hour or 2 hours in the gym. You can get a workout done in 20 minutes
Mhm.
and see progress.
Yeah, exactly. And just like you said, just so some of the best times that I felt is a quick 15-20 minute walk outside around the neighborhood with my family, right? So you get that connection, you get to talk about their day, have a little horseplay, whatever, and you come back and you feel fantastic. Like if you come back still depressed and feeling mopey or whatever's going on, then yeah, that's I don't know what to say to that, because chances are you're not. I mean, seriously, go for a walk with your family, go for a walk with yourself, put on some good music. Like, you are gonna feel good. Even if it's 15-20 minutes, you are gonna feel great when you get back, and you're going to have that nice, good mood boost that you need. So the power of the walk will also carry you, a long ways as well.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that kind of, us talking about this kind of goes into my next point of things I wish I would have known, and that's getting a coach. Utilize a coach, because if you have a coach, like I wish I would have gotten a coach when I first started, because when I first started, I went about 2 years by myself, where I was just trying to figure things out. And I made progress in the 2 years. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of trial and error, just like everyone else, right? You can do these things by yourself, but if you get a coach, your A to Z is going to go a lot smoother and a lot quicker than what it would be, just doing it by yourself. So, for example, if I would have gotten a coach when I first started, that was knowledgeable in nutrition and knowledgeable the things that we're talking about, like the setbacks I would have had, I would have gotten through them a lot better. I would have had a much better plan in the gym. I would have had a much better plan when it comes to nutrition. I wouldn't have followed all these fad diets and failed them over and over again, wondering what's going on. I would have eliminated a lot of grief in myself. I would have again, it would have been a much better fast track towards my progression. And that's the benefits of hiring a coach, especially one that's knowledgeable in these types of goals or whatever it is that you're trying to do. So
So I
definitely
have
don't be scared of bringing on a coach to help you with your goals, because it's going to carry a lot longer than what you think.
I have a curious question.
Uh-huh.
How many over your years of training, how many different coaches have you hired?
So I am on my fourth coach. So I've been going that's about 7 years. I've had three different coaches other than what I have now. So I'm on my fourth coach right now. And each one I've learned many different things. So there are people who will spend, X amount of time per coach, because each coach is going to teach you different things that another coach might not be more valuable or more knowledgeable in, or provide certain values that that you might not know about. So for me, fourth coach, I know people who's gone through, 10 plus coaches over X amount of years. So that's okay. The coach I
Yeah.
have now is great, and I plan on sticking with him for a while because he's very knowledgeable in some bodybuilding things that I'm not knowledgeable in, and I need that expertise, and I completely trust him, especially how far he's carried me where I'm at now. So yeah, to answer your question about four. What about yourself?
6.
Six? Okay, yeah. So
Yep.
see, we're coaches who's gone through coaches, so it's perfectly fine
Well,
and
and
totally
really,
acceptable.
those 6 have been for nutrition and um, fitness stuff.
Hmm.
But I have also hired coaches in other areas. I have hired a coach to help me with my social media. I have hired a coach to help me with my business. I have hired several different coaches to help in different areas
Yeah.
because there's something for me to learn from that person. And your time with a coach is going to vary. Some people spend a lot of time with one coach and some people spend short amounts of time with several coaches, but finding that right fit for you and making sure that there's continuous benefit to
Hmm.
your progress and your goals and what you're working towards. Um, my next thing that I wish I had understood is the amount of patience that is required in
Yeah.
this game. Um, I think we get it, like you said in the beginning, we get it in our head that this is just this linear process, and it's just not. And even though, like, even when I've hit goals along the way, I have things that come up that have been setbacks. I had a health diagnosis several years ago that was a pretty good setback. I have had some family things that have come up that have set me back to where my priorities shifted a little bit. I had a surgery a couple years ago that really set me back,
Hmm.
and I mean, it's been a number of things to where, like, things have been all over the place, and I have to have compassion for myself during those times where I'm maybe not exactly where I want to be, but I'm doing the things that I know will get me there, and having the patience to continue to show up for myself in those times where it doesn't actually look the same. Um, the first year after my surgery, it really took me like a year to feel like I was back to where I was before I had the surgery, and that sucked. That was so hard mentally for me to feel like I was so incapable of doing things I had once done really easily,
Hmm.
and allowing the compassion for myself during that time was super hard. And I think most people that find themselves in this space, like you said, you're very competitive. I am very competitive, and I am competitive with myself. I don't care what anyone else is doing. I'm competitive with me. I want to beat my last record. I want to beat my last goal. And it kind of hit me, there's going to come a point, there's going to be that tipping point where I'm old enough that I'm maybe not going to be beating some of those things because
Yeah.
I'm aging, like, and so that has also shifted my perspective too on some of my goals. I want to age gracefully. I want to I want to maintain my freedom. I want to maintain my strength. I want to maintain my energy for as long as I possibly can as I head into those older years. And that has kind of shifted my perspective, because in my 20s I was like, "Oh, I just want to look good. Like, I just want to look good in a swimsuit. I just want to, like," that was the only focus, was the aesthetic appearance versus my health. And that has shifted as things have gone on, is that being healthy is far more important to me than the visual piece.
Hmm.
And yes, the visual piece is wonderful. It's icing on the cake, but I wouldn't trade a visual for my health.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. And you nailed it with patience. Just the society we live in. So not only do we have a society of, we'll call it, Amazon Prime society, where we can get anything we want within a day or two. We have, technology where we have, computers in our hands all day long where we can get information, just like that. And then now we also have, when it comes to marketing and in the field we're in, it's nothing but promoting, fast, super fast weight loss and, blah, 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 all those marketing gimmicks. So we have all these things against us, but in reality, like, you got to have patience because this is a very slow process. It is going to take time. If you do it
Yep.
properly and you do it the right way, this will take a long time. It is very, very much a slow paced race, not a sprint. I mean, you hear those analogies all the time of how it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and all those analogies. And it's true. It's very, very true. You got to have patience because again, back to failure and things like that. Those things are going to come. You have patience with yourself. You got to learn. You got to adapt. You got to overcome. You got to do all these things to where patience along with consistency. I mean, even those two are going to tie in together. Consistency is going to be key as well. You got to stay consistent with everything you're doing. So
Well,
having patience in
I,
yourself and grace with yourself will go a long ways.
I think too, one thing people confuse a lot of times is they hear the word consistency and they think, I have to do it every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not true. You
Yeah.
just have to be able to be consistent to where you're like, maybe it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday,
Yeah.
Sunday, or, whatever. Or, and sometimes it is consistent. It is like your nutrition, like you're going to be pretty consistent with that for several weeks
Mm-hmm.
at hitting what you need to be at to see that result. Um, but a lot of times I think people hear consistency, oh, you need to be working out consistently. Well, yeah, that might mean that you work out 4 days a week and you're going to hit those 4 days a week every week.
Right.
Not you have to be in the gym every single day.
Right. Yeah. You're absolutely correct. It's a certain level of consistency developed around your lifestyle and things like that. No, you don't got to be in the gym 6-7 days a week. That's not the consistency we're talking about. But you got to be consistent in what you're able to work with. So if it's 3 or 4 times a week in the gym, and then your nutrition needs to be consistent with staying in with a certain calorie range and macro range, or however you have things structured out. Just stay consistent with it, and that's going to go a long ways. That's going to carry you through.
What do you feel like was one of your biggest, I'm putting you on the spot here, but what do you feel like was one of your biggest mistakes that you made when you first started out with your health and fitness journey?
Mm-hmm. So I think
And
in
if
the
you don't
beginning,
have an answer, I have mine.
I have an answer, and it actually kind of ties into one of my next points. Don't focus on your weight. So I was extremely focused on the number on the scale. When in reality, you need to be focused on if so depending on your goal. So my goal was fat loss. I wanted to lose weight, quote unquote, fat. So I was extremely focused on that scale and what that scale said, and I let that dictate my mood and dictate what I thought was my outcome was going to be. But in reality, I should have been focused on fat loss, not weight loss. Fat loss is a lot different than weight loss. So I wish I would have focused on fat loss and learned what that entails, versus focusing on the scale and what that number says. So that's one thing I wish that would have changed a lot for me.
I definitely can relate. I was a scale addict for a long time and I totally stepped away from it a few years ago. And now I will hop on like once a week, just see like where am I at? But
Yep.
it doesn't give me at one point in time that you you hit it right on the head. Like that would determine my day and how I felt about myself. And that's a hard way to live.
Yeah, you
It's
got
a
to be
really hard
really
way to live.
focused on other tools of measurement too, progress pictures, how you feel, how close fit, things like that. And prioritizing muscle growth is huge too. I mean, that's a whole other topic on its own. But go ahead. What was your answer to yours?
Oh, I wish I understood that overtraining is a real thing. And just because some is good does not mean more is better. I totally burned myself out. I started doing 2 a days because I was seeing that progress on the scale, and I was like, okay, if some is good, more is better. I'm gonna keep going. And so I would hit it so, so, so hard 6 days a week. And I didn't miss. I like, and it was hard for me to not hit a workout on Sunday when I was supposed to be resting. And I way overtrained myself to where I had some problems and had to way dial it back and reassess and reevaluate. I felt like crap,
Yeah.
and I looked good, but and that's the other thing, like, when you're talking about all of these tools of measurement, yes, progress pictures, yes, scale, yes, body fat percentage, measurements. Are you happy?
Yeah.
Are you happy? That is a huge one for me because yeah, I can be hitting all of these things. I can hit all the calories, I can hit all of the workouts, I can do all of the things, but if I'm miserable doing all of that,
Hmm.
what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like,
What's the point?
yeah. So recognizing and finding that level of balance to where, okay, I am happy, I am enjoying myself, I am healthy, I am making progress in the ways that I want to make it. The other measure of progress that I absolutely love is, are you doing things that you weren't doing before? Are you running a faster mile? Are you lifting a heavier back squat or bench press, or where else are you seeing progress? So
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
I had another one come in that definitely I was like, oh yeah, that's a great one. Um the importance of mobility work and
Yes.
stretching.
Yes.
How many of us skip that?
Seriously, that's funny you bring that up because that was gonna be because you just mentioned overtraining. And I'm like, this is gonna be a great segue into my next point, and then you just touched on recovery because my next point was gonna be sleep and recovery. They're gonna tie into each other, and absolutely recovery, mobility work, stretching, do yoga, whatever. That is super important. Like your recovery, again, going on with what you said with overtraining, like you really got to prioritize recovery. If you're overtraining, you're going hard, and you're not focusing on your recovery, um, you're only hurting yourself with your progress. Especially when it comes to muscle growth, like you have to be able to let your body heal and repair properly. Because when we're lifting weights, we're breaking down all that muscle tissue, and if we don't let it heal properly, we keep breaking it down and building that scar tissue, and it's not healing the way it needs to heal. We're just hurting ourselves when it comes to our maximum potential when it comes to muscle gain. And then same with sleep. Like prioritize your freaking sleep. Get 7 to 8 hours. Like I don't care what you have to do. There's times where I got to go to bed at 7 o'clock in the afternoon just so I can get my 8 hours. Like it is what it is. Um, I had a client who messaged me, and she was like, "Hey, I only got a couple hours of sleep. I haven't gone to the gym yet today. Should I go home and sleep or go to the gym?" I said, "Go home and sleep. Get that sleep because if you're running on only a couple hours of sleep, that's going to dictate a lot of things. Not only your recovery, but your stress levels too. What happens when your stress levels are raised? You're going to eat like crap. You're going to make terrible decisions. You're going to look for other ways of comfort that aren't naturally the best healthiest choices. So
Well,
sleep
and
and recovery. Go ahead.
our bodies, when we are so food is our source of energy.
Mhm.
And so when we don't get enough sleep, our energy is down, and our body actually releases hormones to make us crave carbohydrates because
Yeah.
that is our quick energy. And so you are going to make more poor choices on that lack of sleep. The sleep is huge. Sleep is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Why do you think people have so many late night sweet cravings, right? Because it's late at night, you're tired, your body's ready to get some rest and get that energy. And of course, you want to go get that cookie and brownie. You got those sweet cravings because your body wants that energy. And those are the things that we crave when we're low on energy. So we want those carbohydrates. So yeah, I would put sleep and recovery, honestly, probably above nutrition when it comes to things to focus on. Because without proper sleep and recovery, maybe just sleep in general. Without proper sleep, you're not going to be making the best nutritional decisions. So sleep and recovery is huge. That is a big part. It is something I wish I would have known too when I first started. So very, very,
Yeah.
very big to focus on those things.
Yeah. When I so have you heard of 75 Hard with Andy Frisella?
Yep.
So a couple years back, I decided I needed to do that, and I was 100% intrigued because of the like mental toughness piece of that, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and I like Andy Frisella. I gravitate towards that like hard coach, like
Mhm.
say it how it is kind of
Yes.
attitude. And I had been following him for a while, and I finally decided, you know what, like it was the end of 2020. I was recovering from COVID, and I was like, I'm doing that. I'm gonna do that. I This year has kind of sucked, and I need a good fresh start. And so I did it. And part of that program, you do 2 workouts a day. And this is after I had already done like all of the overtraining for my body. And I was like, okay, I've got to figure out how to manage this without annihilating myself.
Hmm.
And so one of the things that I started incorporating when I did that, the one of your workouts has to be outside. And so, and you're 7 days a week. There is no rest day in this 75 days. And it's kind of goes against some of what I preach. And so I was like, okay, I've got to figure out how to make this work. So Saturdays and Sundays typically were I went for a walk outside, and then I would go do restorative yoga, and then I stuck to my other program how I typically do. But that was so much different of an experience of 2 a day
Yeah.
workouts than what I had done before, where I was in the gym and I was doing like metcons, and then I would go lift super heavy and not allowing my body to recover at all. And um so there, like, if you really are that person that has to have the movement and has to do the things, find ways to do it. But that my my brain doesn't love the slow down kind of stuff, the yoga, the um mobility work, anything that's slow. I like my brain really struggles to like slow it all down. And yet my body really, really loves those things. And so I have I when we're training like out in the gym, there's a mobility workout with every single workout that we do before we start, because I think prioritizing the way that your body moves is just as important as how much it can move or how fast it can move. Like if you're only going down this far in your squat, like you're not getting the full benefit. Where if we can get the mobility to where you can get that full range of motion,
Hmm.
or a better range of motion, I guess I should say, because not
Well,
everybody has the
right.
same ranges.
Right. And then also you wanna make sure that as you're aging into, 50s, 60s, 70s, do you really want to be that person who can hardly walk? Right? Do you want to be that person who's got to rely on a wheelchair, or what are those little gosh, what are they
Walker.
called? Walkers? Yeah, like a walker. Like me personally, I don't want to be. I want to be that 70, 80-year-old who's still in the gym doing deadlifts, right? And that's going to come from proper recovery. Doing your stretching routines, doing mobility drills, and maybe even some physical therapy if you have a little bit of an injury, like really, really taking care of your body so it can repair itself properly. And it's important. It's something that I don't feel like people really focus on it as much as they should, but I also feel like it's one of those things that is becoming more popular as time goes on, is really focusing on mobility and you know um restorative type of therapies.
Yeah. To the thing that I thought of when you were like, I don't think a lot of people like, so everybody, I feel like most people brush their teeth at morning and night. I hope. Um, but sometimes I don't floss every time I brush my teeth.
Hmm.
And I feel like that that stretching, that restorative, the mobility, those pieces, it's like flossing. Like
Yeah.
it's the added detail that's going to make sure you're as good as you possibly can be.
Mhm.
And do you skip it on occasion? Okay, it's probably not going to be a crisis. But if you skip it every time, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to have cavities and your teeth are going to hurt and your gums are going to hurt. Like you need to make sure you're getting it. I don't know. That just it hit me. I was like, "Oh, it's kind of like flossing. Like it's that detail that sometimes I don't have time for this today." But
Yeah.
most of the time you need to make that time.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. I mean, you nailed it with that one. So, and it's important. You gotta take care of your body, and it's more than just working out. It's repairing your body too, and making sure you're doing it in the right way. So that way you can be mobile the best you can be. So, um, with that being said, too, I think my the last point I really wanted to make on things I wish I would have known is having a plan. Have a plan. I see, even to this day, I see, the same people in the gym every day. They're practically almost doing the same exact things, right? They're working out their arms, they do chest. You don't see them do legs, and you talk to them like, hey, what's your goals? Like, I just want to gain muscle, and I'm like, all right, that's cool, and what's your plan? Like, I just come in and work out for an hour and I leave. Like, all right, well, that's not much of a plan. You got an idea, but you
Yeah.
don't have a plan. Without a plan, you don't really have a good way of tracking progress either. So, for example, if I have a weightlifting plan, I'm going to track that weightlifting plan by counting my reps and weights and things like that. So that way I can have a good progressive overload with it. So those things go hand in hand. But again, having a plan. Don't just go to the gym and just wing it. Same thing with your nutrition. Winging nutrition doesn't work. I'm sorry. I mean, you can get a good idea, but the whole analogy of go measure a tablespoon of peanut butter, and then we're gonna actually see the weight. I bet you that tablespoon is more gonna be like 2 to 3 tablespoons when we actually measure the weight of it. So don't wing things. Have a plan, especially when it comes to your nutrition, because there's times like in your goals where every single calorie can matter. And if you're just winging it and you don't have a plan and you're not doing any units of measurement, then you're just losing time at that point and progression. So I wish I would have known that, because I would have saved again a lot of time and a lot of effort in my journey if I would have known, my first couple of years, like, hey, you should probably have a plan. Like, you have a really good idea, you want to lose weight and look good, but what's your plan? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, what's your roadmap, and how are you gonna measure these things? And how are you gonna track your goals? And you don't. It's almost like if anyone started a business, having a business plan, right? You're not gonna open up a business without a business plan, without things in place and things to track and measurements to go off of. Same philosophy. Have a plan and ways to track and measure.
I think that's important. And I think it's important to recognize, like, when am I overdoing it? Like,
Yeah.
if you're so focused on the plan that you can't deviate and you can't go out to dinner with people that you love, or you can't celebrate things with people that you love, we need to build in some flexibility too. And I was very like rigid at one point where it was like, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to eat this, I can't have that. And we don't want to build that either. We want to build something that's sustainable, that allows for a little bit of flexibility. And different goals and different seasons are definitely going to require different levels of commitment and different
Mhm.
levels of strictness. But if the plan is just, I want to lose some fat, then like, let's build that flexibility in there so that there is some level of flexibility that goes along with all of our things. Um, so before we hop off here, I just wanted to leave my handful of things. And if you have some that you want to add to this list, this is the advice I would give to somebody just starting out. So start slow. Don't feel pressured to dive in and do everything all at once,
Mhm.
because sometimes that gets to a point where we feel really overwhelmed and then we quit. So start slow. Set realistic goals with realistic timelines, and allow there to be margin in that. If you don't hit the goal right when you think you're supposed to, that's okay. We'll build some margin and we'll keep going. Focus on your nutrition. 80% of the time, make sure that the things that you're eating are things that are giving you the most bang for your buck. Nourish your body so that it wants to function for you. Focus on fruits, vegetables, fiber, and protein. Those are important. Do activities you enjoy. Find things you enjoy. And for me, that is the gym. I love to be in the gym. But if it's not the gym for you, if you love to hike, if you love to, I just started a belly dancing class. If you love to belly dance, like find things that you enjoy and find the things that you need to do for your health and fitness to support that. Listen to your body. If you feel off, pay
Absolutely.
attention to that. Stay consistent. If you have an off day, if you have an off week, that's okay. Pick back up. That is what consistency is about, is picking back up even when you've had a mistake or a mess up or a bad day or an off day or a week off. Track your progress. You're going to want to see those progress pictures. You might not want to see the originals. You might not want the right now pictures, but you're going to appreciate those very much when you get to where you want to be.
100%.
And don't compare yourself to other people. Your journey is not their journey. Your body is not their body. And they don't have the same stresses, the same lifestyle, the same things in their life going on. So you cannot compare yourself to somebody else. You don't have the same genes. Even my mom, like I look at my mom's teeny tiny. She is very, very lean and strong. And I look at her and I'm like, I didn't get your body. Like that happened. But if I sit and compare myself to her, I'm going to feel bad about myself. And if leanness is super important to me and what I'm trying to achieve, or smallness, and at the same time, I'm very comfortable with my body and very happy with my body. So don't compare yourself to somebody else, because you're not on the same journey and you're not in the same body. And you are not your body. Your value doesn't come from your body. And yes, we can want to improve it. Yes, we can work towards these things, and it's fun and it's fulfilling and it's amazing to see the progress. But your value is not in your body. It's not in the scale. It's not in the numbers. It is in who you are as a person. And you have to keep that in sight as you're moving through. Stay hydrated and get rest, and seek support and accountability. If you can't hire a coach for whatever reason, find an accountability buddy. Find somebody who you know is going to keep you accountable. Surround yourself with people who are going to support you in your goals without being jerks.
Yeah.
And yeah, so those are my things. That's my advice to anybody starting out or anybody that needs the reminder.
Yeah. You nailed like everything to a T. The only thing I would add to that, and this is probably because it's the little bit of the hard ass in me, I guess, is make if this journey matters to you, right? If your health goals mean more than anything to you, like you want to lose weight, you want to build muscle, whatever, you got to make it a priority. Like it's got to be a priority in your life, 100%. Otherwise, when these obstacles happen, because they will happen, and this isn't a priority, you're just going to start making excuses. And all of those excuses are going to start adding up. And if you don't have any solutions for those excuses, you're just going to keep going through that vicious cycle that people go through, starting over and over and over again. So you got to make it a priority. And it wasn't until I started doing that, until I started making my health and fitness goal a priority, where I was victim to that cycle. So make it a priority in your life. And when it comes to your nutrition and your workouts, treat it as like doctor's appointment, non-negotiables, right? From this time to this time, I'm working out, and there's nothing that can change that, unless obviously it's an emergency or something like that. But excuses like, well, I'm too tired today, or whatever, it's not going to happen, right? So make your journey a priority, and that's going to carry you a long ways as well. Because with coaching a while now and various different people, I find a very distinguished, what do you call it? Comparison between people who do make it a priority and people who don't make it a priority. And those people who really do make it a priority, they're on their A game. They're really focused. Their progression is, faster than the people who continue to make excuses and don't make it a priority in life. So maybe if it's not a priority in life, it's okay. Like if you're just like, hey, I just want to eat a little bit better and get a little bit healthier, and that's your goal. And your priority isn't, making it like, man, I got to lose weight, I got to be better, I got to, do all these things. I think priority levels is going to differentiate between, goals. But again, when it comes down to it, whatever you want to accomplish, like it's got to be a priority. Like you got to make it that priority.
100%. That's one of the things that we do in my program with my clients.
Mm-hmm.
What I ask them, when are you putting your workout down on your schedule?
Yeah.
Because my calendar, you can look and you can see my workout is scheduled in there because I don't want it to be interrupted. So I have to schedule it because I schedule myself over top of myself all the time. So I agree. I think that's great. For anybody who has watched this, if you liked it, give us a like.
Yes.
And if you have questions, or if you have a topic that you want us to cover, go ahead and drop it in either of our social media. I'm Strength Unleashed with Sheena on Instagram and Facebook, and Ryan.
It's Ryan _ next level NXT LVL
On Instagram.
Yep, on Instagram. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's a wrap.
Yeah, that was good. So hopefully you guys got at least a couple nuggets out of this. I know we kind of talked about a lot of different things, but when it really comes down to it, just trust the process, have some grace in yourself, be patient, make it a priority, focus on the small gradual changes, because those small gradual changes are going to lead to the much bigger picture. So, stick to the basic fundamental things, because that's what's going to carry you, the furthest throughout your journey. So, like Tina said, if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to help you.
Thanks.